right, we are live. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
So today we wanted to jump in. Actually, it's a day early. We usually do the Friday Q&As on Fridays. Yeah. But we have something going on tomorrow morning. So we wanted to jump in today and actually answer a really great question that Reajean had. And she is a community member in our public community, and she is also a member of the DNC marketing course. And she is getting ready to launch another one of her beautiful collections. So we wanted to give her some tips and things on what she can do to launch, and give you some tips and things on launching too, because this is a really hot topic. And it being September, we know people are getting ready for Christmas launches and for holiday stuff. And you should actually have stuff implemented right now. So if you don't, this is a great time to start writing it down and start getting it all set, all ready to go.
Exactly.
So do you want to kick it off?
Do I want to hit and kick it off?
Hit and kick it off.
Okay. So let's start off.
It's a really fun topic.
So many to jump into. Okay. So let's start off with the actual incentivizing. Ooh. Okay. I don't know.
This can mean so many things.
Yeah. So I'm going to go under the assumption, or if we use Reajean as an idea, obviously she already has products. She's already sold to customers. But generally speaking, you want to have incentives for people to join your email list. You want to have incentives for launch parties, things like that. What are incentives? That can be a whole slew of things. That could be freebies, discounts. That could be your time, as an example. So in other words, you can do like a free jewelry consultation call. You can do there's anything that you would normally charge or have seen charged for, that can be an incentive. Ring sizing, for example, could be an incentive. Just generally anything that people would want to take advantage of. If you can give it to them for at cost or free or less than, that's going to usually be something that you can build from as far as like the list is concerned.
Yeah, and in Reajean's case, she creates art. So something that she could do as an incentive could be that the discount is a great option. Some kind of freebie that goes in with her brand message, and we can dig all sorts into brand messaging here as well if we have time, or we can save that for another one. But basically another option could also be to, her art is quotable. So what she's created in the past is beautiful pictures that she takes, and then she puts quotes on them that are to inspire you. And the way she puts it all together, it looks really beautiful and something that you would put on the wall every day. So what she could do then is ask somebody, what they would like to see created, and have something created exclusively for them as a kind of a way to get them on a free consultation, maybe for custom work, if that was something she wanted to do in the future.
Yeah.
An easy way, though, to just do it right now is to have a guide of some kind, a checklist of some kind. In her case, a motivational something or other, right? So something that's beautifully made, some kind of artwork that she can give away for free that has some kind of inspirational series of quotes on it or manifesto.
So I'm not sure exactly how checklists and stuff would work in her circumstance, but I will say that an idea that she may want to take advantage of is, what was I saying? Idea, take advantage of.
You didn't like my checklist idea.
I didn't like that.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Okay. Basically, it's giving away your what makes your business you. Now, hear me out, because a lot of people are going to freak out when they hear this, but it's sort of a reality in today's market. It's sort of a race to the bottom. Everybody wants free, everybody wants this, everyone wants that. So in order to not do that, an actual interesting way that you can, we've seen this happen, for example, in our marketing services. Excuse me. Some of the people who take advantage of our services are the same people that we initially maybe pitched to for memberships or masterclasses or whatever the case is, because the idea is that they'll take advantage of the knowledge, but then when it really comes down to it, a lot of them are going to go, you know what? I just don't have the time. It sounds all good in theory, but I want to just go ahead and pay you X dollars for X work, right? And then we say, okay, and we go from there. So it's sort of the same idea. So for example, instead of that checklist, which is still a viable option, but instead of that, for example, you could do a like an actual like lesson, basically, right? You can film yourself on Camtasia or Zoom or something, creating this artwork and saying like, hey, if you want to learn how to do this yourself, you can go here, and you can give them a step-by-step process, and then doing that will enable them to not only like you, and they see you as an authority in the business, but then they'll also be like, this is actually a lot more work than I anticipated. Now I have to go to, Kinko's and all these other places on top of all the actual artistic effects that I had to put into it. It's actually not going to end up saving me all that much money. It's going to be a big old pain in the butt. I'd rather just get her to do this for me, because truthfully,
pay the expert.
You're going to pay the expert. I mean, most people. And then the people that don't probably weren't going to pay for it anyways, so you shouldn't really worry about that too much. And then, but what that does do is, again, allow you to be an authority figure in the space, and it allows for some brand recognition for people to be like, oh man, I really like her stuff. I learned how to do this from her.
Yeah, and this actually pulls double duty as well, because this gives credence to the fact that you know what you're doing. It gives people that behind the scenes look in the entire process, you use to create. So you're showing people how much work and effort goes into it. Right. You could even talk about the cost of things that go into it, so they realize like, oh, you use like professional photography equipment to get these beautiful photos. Oh, you spend hours on Photoshop, color grading to make it look gorgeous, and then putting the quotes over top. Oh, you do research to find something that's going to resonate and that's trending and that really feels good for each people going through different things. Showing them everything that goes on behind the scenes increases the value of what you're offering as well. And it gives people who are those, if you've seen our personality-based stuff, those beavers who really like all of the extra information, right, you're kind of giving them that too, and you're feeding that want for more knowledge.
Yeah.
I really love that. I think that's a great idea. And it also kind of helps open up another door to a continuous process of community building. So for Reajean, for example, who we're talking about, if you wanted to have a community where you could go in and like give tips on how to do this on photography and things like that, on how to build these things for yourself, and then offer all of the things that you create, just like Julio said, you're serving two different sides of the market there. People who really want the knowledge and are going to love you in a fandom base because you're serving them, and people who don't want to take the time, they're very interested in it and they love what you do, but they would rather just buy. So which could even spawn another branch of your business into like courses and things like that, and you can teach people how to do things. But we're talking about launching today.
Yeah.
So other things you can do, that's just the opt-in, right? That's just getting people on your email list, which you have to do. You have to be putting out social media posts and putting out ads and things, pulling people onto your list, because that is your golden place. That is something that cannot be taken away from you. Facebook algorithm can change. Instagram, Twitter, like things can happen to where they can either just go away completely, or it can turn so that it's no longer in your favor. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. We can go into the opportunity of algorithm changes in another post, but having people on your email list means they get access directly to you when you want them to hear you.
Right.
So another thing we should talk about then is once they're on your list, then what? When you're preparing for a launch, I'm a firm believer in building slow anticipation over a longer period of time. Not always possible. And Julio, I think you have some thoughts on a shorter period of time. But when you send out emails over time, start maybe like 6 weeks out and just let them know what's coming. Make sure you're building consistency. This is why this is important. You want them to get used to hearing from you. And so if they haven't heard from you in a long time, that's got to start with a rewarming email or a rewarming campaign to let them know what you've been up to. Make sure they're still interested, because if they're not and they unsubscribe, you didn't want them there to begin with. You only want people there who are interested in what you do. And if that's changed over time and this is the first time they're hearing from you, they're probably going to unsubscribe. But that means that those people who are coming in are genuinely hot about what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So letting them know what you've done and what's going to happen next is going to be really important for building that anticipation. Showing them teases of you creating the process, of you creating the different artwork or jewelry or product, of you putting the service together that you plan on offering, testimonials from previous customers and things, and letting them know like, hey, this was great and here's what customers thought. The next launch is going to be even better. The next collection is going to be even bigger, even bolder, even more beautiful, whatever words you're going to use to describe that particular collection. And then letting them know like what's included. So if you're doing a launch party, which I'm really excited to talk about for this particular one. Sorry, do you want to jump in here? I'm just going to keep going.
It's fine. Okay. Yeah, no, you're all good.
Okay, So I get really excited about email lists. Shooting them emails over time, building that anticipation. Teases of what you have to offer. What's going to happen? So the launch party and what's included in that launch party if you do that. Exclusive discounts, freebies. As you get closer to the date, if you want to even make it a bit more exciting for people, having to have them register for certain things can be a big commitment button that they have to push in order to get there, which can help bring in more people who are actually going to show up, right? Actually going to show up for that flash sale, that launch party. Give your thoughts before I jump in, because I'm just going to keep blowing through here if you don't.
Okay. So let me run back to the idea of long versus short email campaigns. So that's going to end up being kind of a personality-based thing, because, for example, with myself, I don't want to hear from any particular company about what you're planning on doing in the next 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 weeks. It just doesn't matter to me. I think in today's day and age, it's probably more and more the case. Now, again, test, right? See who your people are, see what they prefer. Maybe they are the more golden retriever, and they want to really take some of that extra time and emotion and care, and you want to give them information slowly and in bits so they don't feel overwhelmed.
Yep.
But for myself, let's just say, excuse me, talking about Reajean as an example, if she were to email me and say, hey, I have this new collection coming out fall of 2019, whatever that may be, December or October or whatever, it's not something that I'm going to be marking the calendar for. But if she said, hey, next week is the big launch, I'm coming out with this new collection, she shows a couple pictures that maybe some of the ones that she's seen resonate best in her social media posts, and then discount code 20% off for the first 100 orders or something like that. That may entice me to be like, oh, interesting. Now I want to click on her website. Now I want to see what her newest products are. Maybe I fall in love with them. Maybe I don't. If I don't, maybe she has check out this spring collection, the remaining portraits or whatever. Then I can click on there and I can see okay, so she has a spring collection as well. Maybe there's some things on there that I'm like, ooh, I really like this. I like the way that looks. I want to order that.
I really like that too, because that's another opportunity for exclusivity, right? Or scarcity, which we really, really love. So that spring collection, is it going away? Is it going to disappear forever?
Right.
Is it going to go into the vault? I love that Disney does that, the Disney vault, all those old movies that come out and then they go away. So if you're going to do that, let them know hey, these are only going to be available for the next week. And they're half the price right now because they're the last of our inventory. But once they're gone, they're gone.
Yep.
And the discount even might be an option. You might not even have to discount if they're going away. That might be enough scarcity and intrigue for them to want to buy.
Yeah.
But as far as emailing a week out from your launch, I think if you've been engaging with your list, that's perfectly fine.
Sure.
They're warm to you. They know what's going on. They've been opening your emails. They're familiar with you and your brand. They haven't forgotten anything. But if it's been a while and they haven't heard from you, or if if it's been a while they haven't heard from you and things have changed, then emailing them a week out, they might not even notice that email in their inbox, or it might go straight to spam. It's a gamble for me.
If it goes straight to spam, it's going to go straight to spam regardless. Whether that's 6 weeks out, 1 week out, 1 day out, it's
that's
all
true.
in the spam
You should
box.
definitely ask your list to whitelist you, and you Google how to do that. But if they aren't going to be expecting an email from you and then you email them about a launch, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of engagement. So
that's true. So that being said, I think either way, I think 6 weeks, again, for my personality, for me, would still be way too much. So if we equate this to dating, right? If you're connecting with an old pal, an old boyfriend, whatever the case is, I guess it again depends on the personality, depends on the person. But me, I would want to, fine, 2 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks maybe I want to talk and text and all that stuff. But more than likely, if we haven't talked for a while or whatever, I still want to go out relatively quickly. I don't necessarily need you to text me 8 weeks beforehand saying, hey, just wanted to say hi, it's been a long time. I don't want to talk for 8 weeks before we go out on our first date that we haven't gone out, in years or whatever the case is, excuse me. Does that make sense?
That does. And I absolutely agree that that's a personality thing.
Okay.
Because I think I would be the opposite. I would want to get to know somebody before going out with them. And then that dating process is going to have to start slower for me, like coffee in a crowded place, maybe during my lunch break or something.
Well, no, okay. No, what I'm saying is, if we use the dating analogy, if this is a completely new person, then yeah, obviously, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. But if it's somebody that has already been, that I've already engaged with, that I've already gone out with, and maybe we just haven't talked for a few months or whatever, and then they hit me back up, I don't need or want that 6 week, 8 week re-engagement. I want to go on a date in the next week or two. That make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Because that's when you're warm, right? The list is warm at that point. So those teasers, that steady warming up over time is probably going to just be part of the normal content that you send out. So 6, 4, whatever weeks ahead of time, as you're sending them content regularly, saying like, hey, I just put this blog post up, or hey, I just sent out this video. Hey, we're doing another show, downtown. Join us there. At the bottom of it, you could put something like, and look out, our next collection is launching, this fall. Make sure you save the date. We'll let you know more about that soon. Or what do you think of the newest piece we have for our new collection coming out in the fall? Something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So my point there is just you want them to know what's going to happen. And if they haven't heard from you in a while, you got to put in the time to start warming them up toward that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about social media as far as, making sure you're putting content out there. We've talked a lot about the email list. But what kind of posts should go out onto social media? One, we talked about the opt-ins, right? Opt-ins and discounts to get people on the list. 2, if they're not on your list, or if they are a part of your list and you're just putting out more content, which you should, same thing, right? Teasing the product, showing them the process, getting them on your list, putting out other kinds of content that match your brand message. So for Reajean, for example, if your brand message is motivational, and maybe even if we go a little bit deeper than that, healing on some level, we would have to really dig in, maybe have Reajean on to talk about it. Then you want to post things that are relevant to that matter to your customers. So if it's motivational, why do your particular customers need that motivation? Is it motivation surrounding work, family, a traumatic event, a tragedy in their life? What is it that they need from you as a guide, that overall brand message that's going to help get them to that next point?
Now, keep in mind that this is about organic reach. Now, the idea of organic reach is one key word, reach. You need to continue to try to gain followership. What you don't want to do is continue to send the same message over and over again to the same people, because it's just you eventually just tap out. I mean, people may like your stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna buy every single time you do a launch. So you need to gain some more influence. You can do that by utilizing hashtags. But one of the best things, and we kind of cover this in our masterclass for branding, but is the use of influencers and micro-influencers. Now, you may not necessarily have the budgetary means to get some person that has, 1.5 million followers or whatever. But what you could do is just find other people that do similar things or just have similar pages. For example, let's say you're on Instagram and there's 1.5 million motivational, business motivation, life motivation, whatever the case is, right? All you got to do is follow a hashtag. From there, you can see all the different people who post. You can check out their profiles, see what they have. And then what you want to look for are people who have smaller-ish. Those are going to be the micro-influencers, right? Smaller-ish followings. So, for example, probably like less than 10,000 people, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you want to contact them and say, hey, I'd love to do some sort of collaboration with you. Sometimes they'll do it for free just to get more content. Sometimes you have to name a price. That could be something small, like, give me $50 and I'll post your pictures and all that stuff for the next week. Now, of course, like with anything in business, make sure you do your due diligence. You want to make sure that you're figuring out what their numbers are, look at their posts. Do they engage with their customers? Are their customers all just a bunch of spam bots? Like that's a big thing. You can go to, I forget what it is, but you can probably Google this. It's just like an Instagram followership checker basically, and you can type in like an at so and so, and you can see like, all right, 67% of their people are real, or most of their accounts are fake.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
And that's really important too, because like somebody with 10,000 followers, they could have bought all those followers.
Sure, I mean, someone with 1 million followers could have bought all the followers.
Yeah, so doing that kind of a check is a really good idea, but also looking at the engagement, like Lewis said, not just their engagement with their people, but are there people talking back? Mm-hmm. When they post, do they have a whole bunch of comments and likes and shares? Things like that.
Yeah.
Now, just to backtrack a second, like on Facebook, you can add tags, right? So like hashtags on like LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, and then Facebook also has tags. You might not know that. So just knowing that you can't use hashtags on Facebook doesn't limit anything. Add the tags there too. And then asking people to share, right?
Now keep in mind real quick, the utilization of hashtags for Facebook doesn't actually extend your reach, but it's the equivalency of like a meme, right? So like I may still make a post that says hashtag hustle, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to gain reach for any followership that are following that hashtag, because it's just not a thing. But it's effectively like a GIF or a meme or whatever.
An emoji.
It's essentially like an emoji at this point. A lot of people do hashtag whatever.
Yeah, and it just adds a little bit of that creativity to your post. So anyway, those are the social posts and things like that. Do your due diligence. It's a really great idea to see people who have a similar number of followers to you, because then you can reach out to each other and collaborate and share followerships that way without necessarily having to pay for anything, without necessarily having to feel intimidated because they have 10,000 followers. You're going to end up getting a lot of rejections as you reach out for that. But every rejection is a step closer to a yes. So don't get discouraged. Make sure you're reaching out, and especially reach out to people who have similar size followerships, again, highly engaged, to yours for those collaborations, for those shout outs, things like that.
Now, that works great for Instagram, but not necessarily like we were mentioning for Facebook. So what you want to do is at that point, follow pages and groups, jump in, try to help people out, try to come up with your own ideas in a very... what's the word I'm looking for here? Non-aggressive or abrasive way. Let people know you have something that they may want.
Yeah.
Right. But you're still trying to help out, but you're kind of putting yourself out there. For example, there's been a couple groups that I follow, and when somebody asks a question, I'll answer it. Right. But maybe what I'll do, instead of like actually pitching like our course or whatever, I'll just be like, yeah, so I suggest doing this, and then I give them the spiel of whatever it is, because to answer their question, I'm like, and we cover that and more in our course. And it's just like a little line, a little tagline, nothing that's going to get me kicked out of the group for being salesy, nothing that's going to make people be like, oh, this guy only wanted to help because of sales. But it's just like a little ding in their brain, right? And we've gotten some people that come from that to follow the page. No one at all has ever DM'd me and been like, hey, how dare you answer my question, but at the end say that I should look at your course.
Yeah.
Because I also don't even say like, make sure you check out our course. I just say like, yeah, we cover this in our course. Yeah. And then it's up to the person's curiosity to follow into the next page.
Yeah, and I think that's a great tactic too. For an information business, right, it's a little bit easier for us in that way because we have the information and we can go and share the information, and that's what we do. But for an e-commerce business, if you're selling a product, let's think again about the brand message. Where are those particular people going to be? For motivation, it could be all kinds of places. You can focus in on business places if that's your niche, if you do business motivation. And then when you see people having a rough time, be the go-to person to go in and pump them up and start to gain a following, gain a friendship. We're getting a relationship developed here and helping them in that way. If you sell something that's like jewelry or t-shirts, again, what's your brand message? Who are the people that you serve? Are they more like the grungy, edgy crowd? Okay. Where are they hanging out? Are they hanging out in like Metallica fan Facebook groups? Join in and join the conversation and start to be known as one of the most participative people in that group.
Yeah.
Be someone that is in all the conversations. Now this does take time, right? But until we have money for ads, we have to be spending that money in sweat equity, right? We have to be putting in the time and the energy and the effort, connecting with people and building relationships.
Yeah, it's always a matter of time versus money. You know, for us, we have very limited time. So like in this next launch, you know, over the next, you know, I don't know, we're spending nearly 6 figures on our next ad campaign, and that's going to be just because we need to. We just don't have enough time to do all this organically. So right. it's a time versus money thing.
But the best combination, right, is the money and the time. So even as you grow and start to pull in that money to put toward the ads, make sure you're still engaging with people, because there is no replacement for that relationship with your customers. It's just bar none. Doesn't matter how much money we put into an ad campaign. If people aren't connecting with us and if we aren't putting effort into that relationship, they don't care. They just don't.
I think it's more of a reality of just who people are nowadays, and that's everyone wants to be your best friend. Everyone wants to know. I mean, you know that that's the whole reason why people randomly, you know, tweet at UFC fighters and stuff, as if the UFC fighter gives any, you know, semblance of a crap about this person's opinion on how their fight went. But the idea is the same. They want to have some sort of reaction, and sometimes they get it. And when they do, it's usually like, oh my God, so and so texted me back. Sometimes, you know, like it's a bigger deal than not whenever somebody actually answers a fan. So people enjoy it in today's day and age.
Yeah,
you know, they no longer want to just be a faceless number to a brand or a company.
Right. Yeah, and that's why personal brands are so big right now, right? So like we talked in the last live, I think, was it on Tuesday, about like HubSpot and the different way that they would do things because they're not a personal brand versus, you know, maybe an influencer. They have a personal brand, like a Marie Forleo, a James Wedmore. That's a personal brand. They're a big company, but they're the face. HubSpot, who's the face? We don't know the face, right? We know HubSpot as like the marketing company where we can go to and like get a whole bunch of stuff doing their thing, the thing that they do. But being a personal brand, we have this distinct advantage of being able to have that face of our business and connecting with people on that much more personal level. It's very different when we reach out to people individually, especially as you grow. And you'll notice this as you become a bigger influencer in your space. When you reach out and talk to people on a personal basis, like in Messenger or respond to their comments, the reaction is pretty big. Like they are incredibly grateful that you've taken out the time because they perceive you to be this very busy, you know, entrepreneur CEO type. Versus if somebody from HubSpot reaches out to them, you know, unless they know who the CEO is and it's the CEO reaching out to them, they're just perceived as a customer service representative at that point. It's a lot less of an impact when they reach out, and it even feels like, oh, are you going to try to sell me something now? Versus, you know, a shout out from somebody who you think is like maybe on a celebrity level.
Yeah. So let's move on now to testimonials.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the final point. Testimonials. So you can do it either. Okay. So my recommendation is twofold. First, go back to old clients or customers if you don't currently have any testimonials, or they are, or you only have like very few, like one or two. And the people who have bought from you, go ahead and contact them and say, hey, how's that picture holding up? Now you need to do this from a sales standpoint or a customer service standpoint. So you don't want to just email them, say, hey, I know you haven't heard from me in a year and a half. Can you give me a review? Like that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But if you talk to them, engage with them, just like we were talking about with social media posts and things like that, some of them are not going to answer you back. Some of them will answer you. And when the ones that do answer you, keep that conversation going for a little bit. And then say, hey, by the way, and of course it can be about the pictures and stuff, right? Like you don't have to be like, hey, how's your mama? How's your, you know, like be like, hey, I wanted to double check with you. I like talking to my past customers. How is that portrait hanging? Or, you know, like how's it holding up? How are you still enjoying it? Are you doing this, that? This does it twofold. One, if everything's going well, they're like, that's great. Two, if things aren't going well, it gives you the opportunity to restabilize that customer to business relationship. Because there's a lot of people that, like for myself, I don't ever write reviews, right? If something breaks or whatever, I'll just be like, this was a crap product, whatever. You know, like I'll get annoyed about it and I'll just never buy from that person again. So if you end up reaching out to them and they, let's say, so there was a rip when they got it or something, and it's been 6 months, and they may tell you that, and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me see a picture. Oh yeah, you can fix. And sometimes it's as simple as like, have you ever thought about adding epoxy or something like that to fix that? Oh yeah, all you got to do is this and this. I'll tell you what, I'll make a video for you to show you how to do that. And it's just that little extra step. They don't necessarily need for you to give them their money back. They don't necessarily need, a lot of people they understand. Like, yeah, I know this is 6 months later. I'm telling you this now. So I get that you're not just going to give me a refund and that, like I should have mentioned it right then and there. So it just kind of does two different things. But again, what you could do is just at that point ask for a review or a testimonial. That way you can go into this launch with something.
Right. And that kind of a testimonial is actually incredibly useful too, because it's not just a testimonial at that point, it's a case study. And that kind of person can talk about how initially they were dissatisfied, but you came and you saved the day. So not only do they love the product now because you've replaced it, you've fixed it, whatever needs to be done, but they love you as the brand because you took that extra step and you actually cared.
Yeah, you can see that on Amazon reviews all the time.
Exactly. And those are powerful, powerful reviews. Now, the other thing is that adding testimonials into your process is incredibly important because like Julio said, if you reach out 6 months or a year later, probably not going to get much of a response. But if like a week or two after they've bought from you, you reach out and you just, like Julio said, check on them, say, hey, how is it doing? What do you think? I would really appreciate it if you love this product to hear from you, to hear a review, to so you can share it with the people that you know and let people know that you enjoyed this as well. Saying something like, most of my marketing comes from word of mouth is really powerful. Now, like integrity first, right? If that's not true, don't say that. But we've done that in the past when we didn't have money to put toward marketing. And as part of our outreach and like all the groups that we participate in, all the connections that we were trying to make, we would ask people to leave reviews and tell them that, be honest and say, word of mouth is our biggest marketer. And so if you enjoyed this experience, leaving a review would mean a whole heck of a lot to us.
I don't think that you even need to worry about lying or talking out the corner of your mouth or anything. I mean, word of mouth advertising is certainly one of the best things you can possibly have. So, I mean, the idea is that it should never really be a lie. I mean, word of mouth, testimonials, all that stuff it's
the most powerful thing.
One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful. And you're like, hey, this is one of the best ways my company can continue to grow and help people. Do you mind giving us a review if you found the product helpful? Like that is great. Like, no matter which way you cut it. And then one last little tidbit is for the next launch, because you always want to be planning ahead in business. Yes. For the next launch, make sure, excuse me, that you're asking once again for testimonials from people who end up buying in this launch.
Yeah.
Even if it's not too many people, you still want to contact them. And generally speaking, I always recommend in your funnel to also go ahead and have a customer follow-up series regardless. Maybe like 6 weeks out, depending on what you're doing, of course. If it's a product, it could be, maybe 4 weeks out or a week out. Again, that gives you the opportunity to fix issues as they arise if it comes up, as opposed to people sending bad reviews. But if it's like an informational business, for example, like our course or something like that, you may want to give them some time to actually go through the course material, to actually try to implement something. So, it may be a month or 2 months or 3 months before you actually send out the, hey, how have you enjoyed the course? Hey, what have your results been? Hey, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
100%. Using your previous launch to help increase the boost of your next launch is always going to be important. So keep the momentum going. Consistency here, right? There's a theme.
Right.
Consistency is so important. So start planning ahead. If you've got a launch coming up, make this your foundation launch and do all of these things that you can reasonably do in order to get it done.
Yep.
And then each launch after that builds on that. So adding things that are going to increase the value of your launch, increase the excitement, increase the anticipation, the growth, everything. And then using all the testimonials you get to keep moving it forward.
Right. That's it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this live. Normally, again, the Friday Q&As are on Friday, so we will see you next Friday. Really appreciate it, and feel free to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought, if you agree, disagree, or just have any questions, and we'll make sure to answer them.
Yep, and we're going to put a link to our sales personalities test in the comments as well. Make sure you take that if you're not sure who you're selling to or what your voice is, because it's going to be really helpful for that. And it'll also get you on our email list, which will get you an instant invitation to our masterclass as soon as it's ready, which is going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yep. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.